We're having an oral history interview with Mr. and Mrs Gerald Medina and their daughter Marilyn. This is May 22nd, 2006, and we usually just start off by saying, how did you decide to join Southwestern Yacht Club?
Oh, years ago, my husband got out of the service, and I went to the yacht club about a month before Jerry did, because he was getting out of the service. And then he came over, and he did repairing boats, and I did the carrying of the yacht club.
And that was when the yacht club was on
I don't remember
Harbor
what year.
Drive, I think.
Oh, okay.
It was when it was on Harbor Drive, and I can find the year. Don't worry. Yeah. Okay, so he repaired the boats, and you took care of the club. What did you do when you were taking care of them?
I took care of the customers and wrote their names down, and all that stuff. Took as much as I could.
So you were like the secretary and everything.
Yes.
And did you have to clean it and take care of it also?
Oh yes.
You did it all. That must have been quite a job.
I think she was also somewhat of a social coordinator also.
Yeah. And did they cook then? Did they have a restaurant or food there?
No,
no food.
No, I had the place where I cooked.
For yourself? So none of the yacht club members ate there? They would eat somewhere?
No, they just come and go.
So mostly what did they do? Just keep their boats there and go in and out? Yeah. Were there like parties and things?
Oh yeah, lots of parties.
And you helped with those too?
Yeah.
Do you remember any of the things that you did that were sort of fun?
Oh yeah, lots of fun.
Can you tell me about any of them?
I don't remember the names.
That's okay. Just what you were doing. Were there like dances?
Yeah, dancing, and I took a lot of pictures. I noticed you have one yet in the book there, but that's just one. But it took millions of pictures.
Do you still have them?
Oh, I don't know. I see, where's the book?
We do at the family house.
She does.
Yeah.
If Marilyn can find them, we'd love to look at them, and we can take them down to Point Loma Camera and get them copied, and it won't hurt your photos at all. And then we can, because we have almost no pictures from when the club was over there. It's mostly once it moved here. So that would be wonderful to get the photos.
Okay.
We'll give Marilyn an assignment to do that. Okay, so there are dances.
Lots of dances, lots of parties. We get together about every week. We had a party.
Did they have races?
Oh yeah, lots of races, both powerboats and cruises.
And did they bring the fish in there like they do here? When they catch fish, they brought them in there? And then you were around when they moved over here?
All the time,
Yeah.
We moved here.
Is that when they moved it on the barge?
They
floated it?
Yeah, and they put these up, and Jerry put the boards down and locked them in.
And so he actually helped move it?
Oh yeah.
Oh wow. I haven't talked to anyone who even remembers that. That's wonderful.
Oh yeah.
Okay. So, and we were talking about when the club came over to, got moved over. Did you see it when it was on the barge?
Pieces, and took it apart and took it brought over here.
And then they had to put it all back together.
Yeah,
and Mr. Medina helped with that.
Oh yeah, he did a lot of it.
Okay. So then, once it got here, did you still help run it?
A little while, and then I went in and started selling boats.
That's when you said your husband started a boat business.
Yeah, that was, I believe, in the 1950s.
You were around then?
Well, just barely.
See, she remembers. I told you she would.
So how did the boat business go?
Oh, real good. He did real well. We came over here all the time. Went to Yacht Club, South San Diego Yacht Club.
San Diego Yacht Club. Did you belong there also?
I know. Well, he
Just went over there. Yeah. When and then after a while they started to serve food here, and it became like a rest, like it is now.
Yeah.
More or less.
It's Marilyn. I try to get her to sit next to you, she won't do it. I sit over there.
You might put that in pause, unless you're going to cut that out. The boats. Do you remember when they moved the club?
Oh yeah.
Southwestern Yacht Club?
It's so amazing, the boats over here and the Yacht Club.
You can't talk very well because they usually suction.
Yeah.
Okay, well, let's just go ahead then with your memories. And so then you had the boat business in the, we think, the 1950s. And when you were here, did you have a power boat or a sailboat?
Power boat. We were basically power. The only time we went out in sailboats was when we went as guests on someone's boat.
Which did you like the best, power or boats or sailboats?
Power boats, yeah.
They go faster and they're bigger. Okay. Did you have any? What were some of the things that you and your husband did once the club was here?
We took people down Coronado to a hotel and had dinner and brought them back. And
that's always
at that
fun.
time about 50 people get on a boat, and almost as many as you could put on it. And we had a real nice meal. They had about 4 or 5 boats at this time.
Yeah. And you'd stay down there and party?
Yeah, party, and then we'd come back.
Do you remember any of your friends' names?
I don't remember them. I'm sorry.
You just mentioned a couple people's names at the yacht club.
I remember Mrs. I don't remember her name. Dorman.
Hazel Doman.
Yeah, Hazel Doman.
Yes, everybody remembers Hazel. She was so friendly to everyone.
Yeah, it's because she mentioned her name earlier.
I bet you were friendly too.
Yeah, she's very social.
So, well, it's good you remember Hazel. Hazel would be happy to know you remembered her. So, she liked parties. Yeah, she did. She liked parties too.
Oh yeah.
A lot. So,
she was good at parties.
Yeah. Okay. Did you have any kinds of volunteer work you did?
I did the yacht club work around the yacht club. I took care of the boats and kept track of the members and what they did, and what they paid.
When the club was here, you did that also here? Oh, so you just kept your old...
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Do you remember how long you did that for?
I don't remember. About 2 years.
After they moved here?
Did that and this here. And then since then they built all this. I was waiting. You're surprised at the people that come.
Did you spend as much time here?
Oh yeah.
Sounds
I used to live here.
Did your husband have any particular job, that volunteer things that he was doing?
Oh yeah, did lots of work. He put all the buildings together and
when they moved it.
Yeah, they moved it. They yelled at each other.
Yeah, I bet that was a scene to see.
Trying to do that
getting it
so
off
quickly,
the barge. Did he like sailing?
Oh yeah, they loved it.
Did he do any races or anything like that?
Yeah, there were lots of races. We went on their sailboats a lot of times.
What were some of the things that you liked the most about being in the yacht club?
Oh, I don't know. I just liked all things they did.
Sounds like you enjoyed the people a lot.
Oh
too.
yeah. We had a house right on Shelter Island Drive. No, right on Talbot Street. Right there next to the yacht club.
That was later on, though.
Yeah,
then
that's right.
then in the 60s, and that they lived on Newport Avenue.
Okay.
For a while, they lived, when I was really young, they lived on Shelter Island Drive in a little apartment, and then they built a house up on Newport Street, the top of Newport Street.
And that's where you spent, that's where you pretty much grew up then?
On Newport, yeah. And I think first they lived down here on Talbot.
That's what she was saying.
Yeah, Talbot, the lower part Talbot. See, later on, years ago, yeah, I see what she's saying. Yeah, years ago, first they lived on a little house down here in Talbot. I think they rented that. Then they rented a place on Shelter Island Drive. And then they built a house up on Newport. And years later, in the 60s, and that they built 2 homes up on Talbot, up at the top of Talbot. So I think that's where I was getting confused, but yes.
So
she is right. They did live on a little house down here in Talbot.
So it sounds like your dad was pretty much of a builder.
Oh, yeah.
My mom and dad both, but my mother did a lot of the designing and.
Great.
But they were running the Chris Craft franchise for San Diego during that whole time.
They were busy.
The two of
Chris
them.
Craft Agency?
Chris Craft Sales.
Sales agent.
And then for quite a while, for about 3 or 4 years, they bought a yard, and that's now, it was sold to Kettenberg's boat yard, but right there on Shelter Island.
Where Kettenberg's is now?
Oh, the smaller portion. That frontage is Shelter Island.
Yeah.
That portion was all theirs, and they had one of the first cranes, the rolling cranes in San Diego. They brought down here for that yard.
They had to bring that from some...
Yeah, they bought that from somewhere, and they had the only one. And then they sold that to Kettenberg's, and then they kept the Chris Craft Sales for years and years until 1978.
And so that's really how they made their living then.
Yeah, Chris Craft Sales, it was mostly power boats.
Yeah. But they were pretty popular, weren't they?
Very popular boats, and they were mostly power boats. They did make a couple of motor sailors that were, sailboat style. And sometimes they took in trade sailboats. But they spent a lot of their customers were members of the yacht club here and also friends of theirs.
You don't know.
I'm not sure if Bostrom belonged here or to Kona Kai. I remember Bostrom. I remember the gentleman that owned the La Mesa Paint and Body. He was a Canadian man, something with a B.
I forget his name.
Yeah.
And yet I knew him real
San Diego Paint and Body?
La Mesa Paint and Body, yeah.
Someone
years.
And Ken Wilson.
Ken Wilson, I think it was Kona Kai Yacht Club.
Tom Swift will sit down with me and help me with writing it too, because he's the one who said you absolutely have to talk to Jerry Medina. And your mom remembers Tom.
She remembers.
So
you do remember Tom Swift? Okay,
yeah, she
that's
told
good.
me. So he'll know some of the in club things that happened before you got down here.
Yeah, there was his name is a doctor. It was I think an eye doctor or something.
Dr. Disraeli?
No, something with a B. Not Bostrom, but he bought several boats from us, and they were pretty good friends of my parents, and they had their boat over here at the yacht club. They had actually a lot of good friends. At that time, they were working so hard when I was in high school and college that I think they lost contact quite a bit with,
with here.
Yeah, with coming over here as much. Yeah. They were working 7 days a week from 8 in the morning till 10, 11 o'clock at night.
Well, that happens in people's lives. There are times when you have a lot of time to do that, and thank goodness.
Yeah, I think they missed being here at the yacht club quite as much, even though they stayed, they stayed as members, and they still kept in contact with many of the members here that bought boats from them.
Did you get involved with the club very much?
Oh, yeah.
I have some friends that belonged here, like the Lynches. Patty Lynch, I know, kept her boat here, her husband, and I didn't, I was always over here a lot, delivering boats, picking up boats, and helping their clients.
So you helped out with the business also?
Oh yeah. No, I delivered, I taught people how to doctor boats, and I demonstrated them, and I would take them over to the yard, and I would pick them up and deliver them when they were up at, let's say that it was Marina Del Rey, I'd pick them up and bring them down.
Oh, you did deliveries.
Yeah, and I demonstrated them, and I would teach people how to dock their boat, because many of the people...
Very important.
Yeah, especially... That was quite a challenge sometimes.
Especially when they didn't know how to sail at all.
See, I drove boats before I ever had my driver's license, so for me, it came natural. And actually, the driving I had to...
And then
and I was so used to the wind blowing my boat that took me a while to realize that when I was driving a car that, no, don't worry, the back end of the car isn't going to hit when I turn a corner.
It's not going to go that fast.
I'm kind of exaggerating.
So it was sort of a family business then?
It was definitely a family business.
My brother helped also?
Yes, he did some mechanical work and that.
Well, it's good. It's family businesses are good to see, and there aren't too many of them anymore. So.
Yes.
Did you do any of the social things down here, or
a lot of
the juniors program or anything like
No,
that?
I didn't do that because they pretty much wanted me to work with them every day. So, so when I wasn't going to college, I was down there working. And I for a while I tried to race. I would race sailboats with people, and I wasn't even able to do that because they needed me on the weekends, because that was their busiest time. So a lot of times I had to demonstrate boats and that. So I did not get to do that very long, which I'm sad about, because I really enjoyed racing sailboats.
About the time, can you give me a time frame on when well, first of all, I guess when you were active here would have been in roughly what years?
Well, probably in the 70s.
And
the 60s, the 60s, and the 70s.
And do you is your
business? I used
business?
to come over here quite a bit.
I noticed on the phone you said your office. Are you still doing something with the sailboats?
I was a yacht and shipbroker salesperson for years and years until the late 70s, and then at that time they had 17% interest rates, so boats weren't selling very good at that time. So I did, apply for my broker's license, and I've been a real estate broker since the 80s.
So that's
I've often thought about going back and selling boats and combining them. But now I would have to reapply for my broker's license, and probably have to get a salesperson's license first for a couple of years.
All of that.
Yeah. But I miss the boats a lot.
And the atmosphere.
I just love the people and enjoy working with the boats and being on the water.
Did you know Jerry? Did you know Jerry?
She's talking about my brother.
No, I didn't. No.
I'm not sure how much my brother came over to the yacht club. I'm not really sure. My parents said we did used to eat lunches here and dinners here, even though we did not, as a family, participate in some of the races and the boating activities.
Now, I've just been a member for 20 years, so I wouldn't have known any of that.
You would not have. And now, I was going to say is, what I remember seeing photographs of in my parents' photo album, is pictures of my father standing on top of a roof building Southwestern Yacht Club.
That would be wonderful to have things like that, and also if there's some pictures of your mom.
I have lots of pictures of my parents, similar to the one in your 40s book, where they're at parties together at the Southwestern Yacht Club.
It'd be fun to have some of those too.
Yes.
Because, you saw that there's not an awful lot in that book. I mean, they could use a lot more photos.
Yes, and I am going to request again from my brother that he give those back to the estate.
Yeah.
He's kept those.
Well, even if we could just borrow them, you know, and then if we could get 2 copies made, if you wanted to, you could get one for you and one for the club, so then he could have the rest.
Well, those are actually the estates, and
Yeah.
he can make copies for himself. That's the way we usually do it.
So then, your dad, everything was going along pretty well, but then he ran into some ill health, I guess.
Well, this was...
See, here they just told me he had a stroke.
Yeah, in about 2000, we started noticing that my father was getting dementia. Did not quite realize what was happening. Just thought, you know, he's getting older. He's, you know, getting a little senile. But apparently, he started on a path of dementia or Alzheimer's, and in about 2001, it started progressing, and then he would have illnesses, and then would get worse and worse, and come back again, and he fell down several times, and then in about 2004, I think, 2003 or 4, he had to go to the hospital for heart congestive failure, and at that time I think he had a mild stroke, because then he had moderate to severe dementia at that point, or moderate dementia I should say, and then it went downhill to severe. And
is that what causes him not to be able to talk?
Yes, it's the combination of the stroke and the dementia. And then in 2005, I believe, or he had 4 or something like that, he had another, he had one like a year earlier, then the next year was a really bad one. And then at that point he could not walk or talk at all. He's doing much better now. He can talk sometimes, and he's fairly comprehensive now.
Talks like crazy sometimes.
Yes, and
That's
sometimes
good.
he's very clear, and he knows
isn't
what's
that
going
good?
on, even though he doesn't.
That's what Jane said.
Yeah, and so I think it's just a combination of the two, the dementia and the stroke. And my mother's had a couple of strokes. She had one back in '89. And then in 2001, but she's doing really well.
She's gonna die.
She's a little tigress.
She's a survivor, huh?
She was a very social person and always a very go-getter.
I can tell. Yeah. So your dad is how old now?
My dad is 88, I believe, and my mother's 87.
When
1918, my dad was born, and my mother was born in 1919.
That's right.
And
well, take care of your body.
Oh, thank you.
It's going to have to last so long.
Yes, really. Now, they were very, when I was growing up, we were very active with the fishing people, because, you know, a lot of the people that bought boats from us, they had, you know, they were avid sports fishermen.
Your mom said that she liked to
We
power
were
boats.
right next to the Marilyn Club, our business.
Oh, yeah.
So, you know, we'd run over there to see how many Marlins they brought in.
And watch them get their pictures
Yes.
taken. That must have been fun. And a lot of activity going on.
Yes, and we, of course, we also enjoyed sailing, even though we were mostly power boats with the Chris Graffs.
Then we removed the one building, and we put another building in there before we sold it.
They did, yes.
I don't know how many years.
They built a brand new building at their business at 2515 Shelter Island Drive. It used to be called Chris Graff Sales. And in order to renew their lease for the 25-year lease, they had to rebuild. And so they rebuilt a kind of Polynesian look, so it kept in line with the...
And you designed it, huh?
They actually did, yeah.
That's great. Well, the same thing's happening here. We have to get our lease negotiated again, and we have to do a whole bunch of work.
Yes.
Same thing they made you do. So.
Either major remodeling or rebuild, but our old building looked more like a huge garage or warehouse type of building, so the new building was much prettier and nicer for boat sales. Now that's not called the Chris Graff anymore. When they sold it, they I believe it was Bertram Boats now that.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
It was sold a couple of times after they
Is there anyone else that you know of, other than Tom, who would like to help with this? Anybody else like Tom that you knew pretty well, who's still here at the club?
I knew a lot of people, but I knew everybody, but I don't remember the name.
Well, she remembered Mrs. Goddard.
Edwina. Oh,
yes,
yeah.
Edwina. She's so
Edwina,
sweet.
yeah. Edwina remembers everything.
Yes, and I know her son, so,
Yeah.
you know, I remember meeting her years ago
Yeah.
at her house.
Well, I'll get Edwina, and Tom will help put some of the dates and things in.
And one of the gentlemen that came by remembers my parents, Boyle, or he lives in New Mexico now.
Oh, George Gray.
Great.
Yeah,
But there was
yeah.
another gentleman too. But yes, they
Roy
remember.
Benstead. I think Roy came over and talked to him, and Paul Whitehead. There were a number of them. that came
Yeah,
over.
Mr. Whitehead seems to be pretty sharp, and he knows,
Yeah.
he remembers
Yeah.
them. And I remember him, actually.
He must have.
Marilyn remembers
Really good
everybody.
Oh, he's a good-looking man now, and
That's right.
I remember him being around quite a bit, so I know he's come over and, you know, talked with my parents and that.
Well, what we'll do now is I'll talk with Edwina and Tom, and then we'll write up a little story about what you've told me. And if there's anything else you can think of that you would like to say, you know, just say it, but don't feel that you have to.
I'll look up and see if I can, once I see those photographs, I might remember the people that were here.
Oh, yeah.
I bet your mom will too, when she
Oh,
sees
yes.
the photo. So,
Yes,
So what you can do is...
She will.
Yeah.
I used to, I think they're in that book, and closet.
Okay, because you might remember the names of the gentleman with the, who makes the paint body.
Gee, I forgot the man's name. I forget.
That's all right.
Okay.
That's all right. When you see the pictures, the names will come.
Yes.
And if you get some names, just phone me, and I can just check them with Tom. And
Well,
the guys.
and we were also, I think he was a member here at one time. It was Dr. Smith, Dr. Carl Smith.
Yeah.
Could be. I'll jot that one down.
I know
Tom will
now
know.
he belongs to the San Diego Yacht Club, but I keep thinking that he used to keep his boat here.
I'll check it with Tom. Tom's up on all of this. So.
Yeah, when Patty Lynch was here, I'm not sure if she was under her married name, and they know them too, the Lynches.
Well, we connected. You know, we talked to different people, and some people remember one thing, and some people remember another. Then it makes a story. So it's like your dad's coming back,
Okay.
or maybe going out.
Let's see if he can.
Yeah. Maybe.